Well, the Compromise of 1850 was one of a series of compromises over the issue of slavery through which the political system tried to settle this very, very divisive question. I mean, you can go back to the Constitutional Convention and they had compromises there, you know, like the 3/5 clause. You don't get the 3/5 except as a compromise. And then the Missouri Compromise of 1820-21. And then the Compromise of 1850. All of these compromises really had to do with how the federal government relates to slavery. Nobody thought that the federal government could abolish slavery in a state. This was a state institution. But every time new territory was added to the United States, and of course in this period the United States is expanding geographically very rapidly, every time new territory is added, the question pops up, what is going to be the status of slavery in that territory? And that was one of the big issues in the Compromise of 1850. New territory had been acquired from Mexico during the Mexican War. There was California, which actually had formed a constitution and wanted to be admitted to the Union as a free state. There were those other territories, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, that's what they are now, Nevada. What's going to be the status of slavery there? Other issues like fugitive slaves. Southerners were annoyed because slaves were escaping to the north and were not being returned. And again, you get this compromise. There's a new fugitive slave law, much tougher than in the past, to try to use the power of the federal government to capture and return slaves who managed to make it to the north. California is admitted as a free state, and for the rest of that Mexican territory, popular sovereignty is implemented. That is, the people in those territories will basically decide whether they want slavery or not. That's, in other words, putting the question off to the future. So the compromise settles those questions for the time being, but like all the other compromises, eventually it begins to fall apart.